I'm so excited for this one. Hello, friends. My name is Kevin Delgado. This is the Why Not Me podcast, and we're glad that you are joining us on this journey of growth, self-reflection, and development. And what you all don't know is the treat that you have waiting for you just on the other side of this intro. Who is sitting with me here today? What's really cool about this is the first episode I'm doing with a good friend of mine, and we're going to talk about his why not me journey and how God has been working in his life to make an impact and here where he's going. This is a man that I have so much respect for, so much love for, a man that has been pivotal in my personal growth and development, a man that has been the wisdom I've needed in the time of development, the calm I've needed in the storm, the voice of God when I wasn't hearing God. Man, it's been a pleasure doing life with him, and the fact that I get to do this with him is even cooler. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Davonte Anderson. Davonte is not only an incredible human being who is very stylish, but he is a D1 football player, played for Stony Brook University. I believe you were a DB, maybe even safety, laying the wood down and getting interceptions all day long. Davonte also has been dabbling in photography, videography, uh, fashion design, and he was in business. He was an advisor for college athletes. He's done it all, and I'm so glad to be here with him. And the most recent endeavor that Davonte has undertaken with his wife has been to launch a company called Drip in Grace. And it's so ironic that Drip in Grace is the title of his company. And today we're going to talk about finding grace in your pursuit of greatness. Finding
Oof.
grace in your pursuit of greatness. Right. Davonte, hey, did I miss anything? Do you want to say anything to the people?
Yeah, bro, you missed a very important thing, and no knock to you, but my very first identity and calling right now is I am a husband of an amazing woman of God. Her name is Vanessa, and I say that because actually I'll leave that for later, but that is the most important woman in my life and the best thing that uh, I take pride in today. So, uh, yeah. So I would love if I had it my way. Anybody introduced me, I say start with me being a husband, because that
Okay.
thing right
Okay.
there is the most beautiful thing that I've had in my life. So,
I love it. Listen, that just
but I
shows you who
appreciate.
Davonte is.
I appreciate everything you said, Kevin, because Um, if y'all would just get inside my head and my heart to know the amount of respect and honor I have for this man, it means a lot for you to say those words to me.
Man, ditto, ditto.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I respect that and I love that because the title of being a husband, it is it comes with great honor, great valor, great respect. And man, I don't know what I would be without my wife. Where I would be without my wife, and I'm sure you feel that's great sentiment. You know what's funny, gang, is that Davonte, he was one of my mentors and advisors at UCF when I was a cheerleader and an athlete at UCF, and it was amazing to have Davonte there. So super exciting. So let's talk about this grace, finding grace in pursuit of your greatness, and to dig a little deeper to set the foundation for this. Grace is very important, is paramount to growth, and it's a crucial part to chasing greatness. And grace is so many things that is typically overlooked. I know in my journey, in my pursuit of growth, whether it's in sports, in being a husband, and being a father, and being a professional, I constantly, until this year, overlooked where grace fit in. And and I was quick. I always extend grace to people. Whenever I'm coaching somebody, whenever I'm working with somebody, I reach out to them and say, "Hey, I got you. Here's the grace you need. Let me help you up." But when it came to me personally pursuing greatness, I had this like Kobe Bryant mentality. You know, if you don't know basketball, Kobe Bryant is one of the legends. They call him the Mamba because he's cutthroat. And this idea of there is no grace and greatness, just get up and work harder. And I quickly found out this year by crashing and burning and coming to a bad place personally that grace has to be present, and you have to give yourself grace in order to be great. And just to frame it up some more, there's this definition that really struck a chord with me, and it's simple. Grace is defined as unmerited favor.
Mm.
Davonte, you're shaking your head. Tell me, what does grace mean to you?
That is a loaded question. But I mean, I'll just start, man, with um, a we're going through some rebranding right now with our business, but our original business logo that we currently have that's getting changed is the pictographic Hebrew version of grace. And so one of the original meanings of grace, and what that meaning is a safe place for life and activity. And so basically it's saying God gave us life, and he's provided a protection around us to allow that life to flourish and grow and become all it needs to be. And so grace to me, yes, it's unmerited favor because one, this life that we have, we didn't earn it. It's just the life that we have, right? And the things that we've been protected from, um, some of those things we had nothing to do with. And so um, grace to me is like a container, right? If
Man,
grace doesn't, it's what holds, it's what holds us, and it's what allows us to still work hard, right? To still have the mama mentality, right? But the mama mentality outside of that container is just chaos, right? So we need a grace container. So to me, what I've learned and what I've seen in my life is grace to be that safe place, man, where we can mess up, where we can be great and have success. Um, but it's a safe place for us all to live.
wow, that is so powerful, and man, like this is why I'm so thankful you are in my life. Just that reminder that chasing greatness is possible because of grace. The way
Mm,
you framed it, grace is this boundary of protection placed on us. And as we chase our calling, our why not me, our greatness, our goal, we have to embrace learning. We have to embrace failing. And learning and failing is okay to occur within that boundary, that protective boundary of grace that also comes with unmerited favor. And personally, when I feel like frustration with myself that I'm not progressing as I should be, um, or I didn't execute as good as I could have been, or maybe even tonight, I had a moment where I was like I was not being the patient father I wanted to be.
mm,
I had to give myself a moment of grace
mm.
and lean into this unmerited favor and know that okay,
Uh,
this is still
yeah,
a safe space. Go and correct this and go and chase greatness. I can still correct the issue that I had because I'm giving myself grace. By me giving myself grace, I will be given grace. And
right.
it's amazing what happens when you create space for you to listen to
Yeah,
grace and feel it and disarm yourself to analyze and adapt the environment.
that's
Wow,
good.
that's crazy. That's a great definition, man. A great definition.
That's good. I appreciate that vulnerability too, on the spot vulnerability of tonight, and just the patience aspect, because people need to hear that, man. They probably hear you talk and think, oh, well, actually, no, you're very vulnerable in just different situations that you've been through. So I just appreciate your continued uh, sharing of your real life in real time right now. Um, areas that you're still working on. So I appreciate that.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Yeah, we are a constant work of art, man. So hey, listen, Devonte, Can you just talk to me about your why not me journey? What are you on right now? What are you living through? What are you striving to do, and where are you striving to make a difference?
Yes, man, I will say just kind of how I started this pod, just with being a husband, right? I think one of the biggest things right now for me is um, that is kind of my probably the biggest part of my why not me, right? I grew up, I didn't have my parents didn't, well, since I was probably like 3 or 4, they didn't live in the same household, and so I didn't really see the healthy mom dad family deal. Um, and so I think one of my biggest why not me journeys right now personally is why not me be the best husband that I can be and the best future father that I can be, God willing. Um, because I know that my biggest impact that I'll ever make is inside my home. And if I can really do that, um, that's what keeps me going every day. Like, why not me? Like, why not me be that? So I feel the most conviction and the most challenge and the most even like the Mamba mentality towards that. And so I see you raise your hands. Um, so that's a big why not me journey for me, man, just because I just know that there's it's needed. It's needed inside my home. I feel like a lot of times people, if they get asked that question, right, they're thinking about, oh man, my next championship game or the next business that I'm starting or the money that I want to make or whatever, right? And I think I've really been learning and tuning into, nah, man, it starts in the home, and that our everything that we do outside of our home flows out of the loving union with God and with our spouse. And um, so if I get it twisted of why not me go chase dripping grace, and then I'm like, well, my family's gonna be there anyways. Like it's just not going to. It's not. That's not considered greatness to me. And so,
Man, that okay. We need to go back to that because you said something that I don't think I've ever heard or considered before. And like we've talked about this, and I've talked about this in my professional world and in my athletic world. You said it starts at the home, and
mm,
everything flows out of the love that is felt in God and the identities you have at home.
yeah.
And how often do we talk about, hey, leave your trauma, leave your baggage at the door? Both ways. So when you're
Mm,
going
yeah.
into your office or into your facility to practice, into your weight room, leave your trauma at the door. Uh, and then when you're coming home, leave your work at the door. But you man, that's awesome. You're saying that if I make it right at home, bring that love with me to wherever I go.
Yeah.
And that is helping me be an impactful person. That is driving me to my why not me, man. That is incredible.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy you bring that up because me and Vanessa were just, my wife, we were just talking about that, about she actually brought up, I think, about the whole, when you go to, and back in your sporting days, you go to practice and it's like, all right, leave whatever you have at the door, right? And it made me, it just triggered a thought in me, and I don't know if it was a good idea or not, but I was like, if we ever get into a space one day where we have our own Dripping Grace space, like I would love to have a space where when people come to our shop or whatever it is, like there's an area that they can talk to. They have that safe space, the grace space to talk to people and just talk about those things before they go interact with people. Because it was like my mindset was like, okay, well, they would say leave it at the door, but you're not giving them an avenue to actually talk about the things that they need to talk about. So they leave it at the door and then they go back to their real life. And it's like, but you're not helping them with their real life. And I think that's where it's like we need more people, and that's one of the missions that Vanessa and I are on, is that we want to drip more grace into people's lives so that there's more people that have that heart posture of grace to provide the space for people to be able to talk about things and to leave it not at a door, but leave it with a trusted individual. And so it's funny that you brought that up because we literally talked about that, I think, like 2 days ago.
You are, I swear, you are. You need to write a book like that. That is so cool. Drip grace on people to make them feel safe, to
Hmm.
own what they're going through. Bring it with you. We will help you use this in your next environment, in your next space, in your next journey, in your next milestone
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
benefit. That is amazing. And you know, that's like a different conversation. So maybe like episode 2 that we do together. It this lack of leave it at the door, or this emphasis on leaving it at the door, is really about like not being in tune or handling or dealing with emotions and dealing with stress and traumas. And man, you're saying no, bring it. We'll help you. We're all humans. We got this. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Devonte, I gotta ask, man. So you talked about what grace means to you. What does
Uh-huh.
greatness mean to you?
Ooh. Um, I feel like that is it's a hard question because because there's
That's what I'm
greatness can
about, man.
be
I'm about hard questions.
that's a I love it. But greatness is can be defined in so many different ways with so many different things. Um, and so for me personally, I try to keep my life as simple as possible. And so greatness to me is to at the end of my at the end of each of my days to still be close to God. And that's 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 as simple as I put it, just because and this doesn't connect with everybody. Not everybody is walking with Jesus and those different things. But everybody's connected to something. And so for me, it's like if I can stay close to the God that I know that's in control of my life, that knows what he's doing for me and everybody else, then I'm on the path to greatness, man. But if I'm not with him, there's no way I'm going to reach any level of greatness in anything that I'm doing. Um, but I'll give a maybe a non simplified answer. One way that I do want to be great um, is I like I said, I want to be a very um, I want to be, from a husband standpoint, one area that I really want to be great in is being a husband that, and I'm still growing in this area, but being a husband that um, really does provide that safe space for my wife, where there isn't too high expectations or um, a lot of judgment or controlling. One thing, and I'll give a small example, being vulnerable, just as following your lead. Um, One example, having a discussion the other day, and um, we were talking about. I'm trying to remember exactly what we were talking about. Um, oh, we were talking about, typically now that I take my days off, my Mondays off, I typically do the grocery shopping on Mondays. And I switched my Sabbath day, and it ended up not being, I ended up not going to the grocery store that morning because I was on Sabbath earlier than I usually would. And so my wife brought it up to me and she's like, well, are you going to go to the grocery store? And then one of my immediate responses was, well, you knew I was on Sabbath today. So obviously I'm not going to go to the grocery store. And so in that instance, I caught it, but I didn't say anything. But then after we got through the conversation, she said she wasn't upset with me, those different things. But then I circled back and apologized because I realized that I was trying to control the narrative, right? Of like, you knew that I was on Sabbath today, so you should have known that I was not going to go to the grocery store instead of holding that safe space of like, you're right. I didn't proactively communicate that I wasn't going to the grocery store today, so I can see why you would have thought that I wasn't going to do that. And so greatness, so that's like a small example. Like greatness to me is being better in those situations to where I can navigate those conversations and navigate conflict without trying to control the narrative. So that's one way in marriage that I'm trying to be great. I don't know if
Dude,
that's the answer that you wanted.
I don't that the answer that I want is the answer that you give. And that was incredible, man. I love it. That is it is a refreshing definition of greatness. Being your best self today.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
okay, the areas that I know I'm not working well at, actively working to get just 1% better. That is
Hmm.
greatness, the pursuit of greatness, the pursuit of being your better self. And that's, man, thanks for sharing that example. That's amazing. And it's such a real time example of something I wish I could do. My response is blurt it out, say the stupid statement, be stubborn, and then reflect and then say, oh crap,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. Man,
Yeah.
do does giving yourself grace come naturally to you?
Absolutely not.
You too? I thought it was
No,
just me.
no, bro, absolutely not. And I think it's um actually this just hit my head too, so I want to say to stop before I don't. But one promise that I've made to myself is which I see as a as how how I want to reach greatness when I think I've reached greatness, or when if I want you, Kevin, to look at me and say, "Oh, that is he's one of the greatest to ever do it." Um, it's when I can continue to have success and reach new heights and new milestones, even with the business and marriage and financially and kids and all the things. Because I don't believe that any of that stuff is wrong. Is reaching, those milestones, but I want you to look at me and say, oh, he's one of the greatest to ever do it because he reached those levels without ever having to sacrifice time with his family, without ever missing family events, without ever, without always being present and even keeping time with God and his Sabbath and those different things. Like, I want to reach levels like, um, I mean, I'll even throw a big name. Like, I want to reach levels like Steve Jobs and those types of people, but with the caveat of he did it in a way that he didn't have to sacrifice all the years and years and years of time that you hear a lot of the greats say that, oh, I had to sacrifice 10 years away from my kids and my family and those different things. To me, greatness is reaching that level, but not doing it that way.
Man, let's do it.
Because I think it's possible.
It is. It
100%.
is. It let's do it. And like, man, it's so cool. Like as I'm hearing this and like consolidating what you're saying, this idea of greatness to you is not just getting 1% better each day and seeing where I can grow, but it's getting 1% better each days in the areas you care about, in the areas
Right.
that I'm passionate about. So my passions, my family, my faith, my family, and my profession or my well being, whatever it may be. Like those are my three
Yeah.
things. Let me be great in all of those where none of those get sacrificed. And maybe in one season it's I'm great at that by giving one of those 55% of my time. and then or my effort and then splitting the rest of the other things, but still being present there. And then maybe sometimes it's like
Right.
20 and 100, but those things are never stripped of the attention. That man,
Yeah.
that is amazing. And I want to just say it live on the spot. I will join you in that journey because that is too something that I believe is important. It is
Yes, sir.
chasing greatness without sacrificing the most important things in life: faith,
Yeah.
husband, father.
Yeah.
Man,
100%.
was there like a moment in your life that forced you to see that grace was important as it pertained to greatness and to learn how to give yourself grace that you can recall back to?
Yeah, bro. I think there was actually there was a specific moment, man, when it was probably back in 20 around 2017. Um, I went to go work at Baylor University. I was there for about 4 months, went through a lot of different things from deep depressions to my uncle that was like my closest uncle that I've had passed away early, and a lot of different things, man, where I ended up just moving back home and just took time off and just trying to figure out life, trying to figure out what my purpose was in life and like all these different things. And I found myself, I ended up being an Uber driver for a little bit because I needed some money, and I was still I graduated college, had my master's, had job experience, but I was in this deep depression. So I was just driving on streets, and I ended up coming across a street, man, that was like around my childhood, like upbringing, and it sparked me in that moment of like, wow, like I can't believe that the kid who parents weren't together, who struggled with just medical things and stuttering problems and speech problems and asthma and bouncing from home to home and all these different things. I can't believe that kid has gone on to school, graduated from college, got his master's, been working in front of people speaking and like all these different things. And God literally was just downloading all the people he sent into my life, all the things that he kept me from, all the moments that were terrible moments, but then there was somebody there to bring me into their home and all these things that just happened. And it was in that moment where I was like, oh, his grace is sufficient. Like when the word says his grace is sufficient, like his grace is sufficient. He's carried me. There is nothing that I did. It was that unmerited merited favor that you talked about at the very beginning. There was nothing that I did to earn the people that came into my life, to earn the situations that he had allowed me to overcome. And it was in that moment where I was like, oh, his grace is sufficient. And that's why one of our biggest things is we love to hear people's stories, tell people's stories, because if you can really sit down with someone and ask very great questions as you do to people, you'll be able to see like, oh, his grace is sufficient. You've actually gone through some things. And not everything was great and roses for you. So I think that was the most pivotal moment of my life that I really realized like, oh, grace is real.
I am blown away. I never ever knew that any of that
Yeah.
about you. And not that that changes who you are, man, but it is amazing connecting the dots and seeing all of the impact you've had in not just my life, but hundreds of student athletes, hundreds of people
Hmm.
in your community, hundreds of churchgoers, hundreds of family, like these, all the impacts you've had in your life, people you even know
Hmm.
about.
Yeah.
And to know that there was probably a point in your life where you were thinking that I'm not going to make an impact in many lives at all. And look at you.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that is incredible. That is greatness, man. But that moment when you learned about grace, And that moment when you learned about God's grace being sufficient, and it is by grace alone that you've gotten to this place, that is powerful. Absolutely
hmm
powerful. And I love that you recalled back to all of these moments that mattered, all of these milestones you've been through. And also the journey until that milestone. You're like, hey, listen, the journey was difficult and it wasn't easy. And still,
Right.
God got me through it. And still, in the storm, I was given this person to help me. Like that, that is, thank you for sharing that. That is amazing. And I wish I would have heard that story about 3 years ago. Because that would have saved me a lot of headache and a lot of heartache.
Oh
Man,
man, that's my fault. That's my fault, bro. I
no,
could have
it's
told
not.
you.
I wasn't asking the right questions.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, I am I am excited for you to continue to venture into your calling and your why not me with Drip and Grace and to do it with Vanessa. You all are so complimentary and it is so amazing. And I'm excited. And maybe we'll have like the three of us together in a podcast episode next time. But throw Vanessa in the mix too, because I think the people
Yeah.
will love to hear from her. Hey, listen, I want to give you a space to share whatever is on your heart. You know, something that's really cool that I agree with you in this. People, they have stories. And everyone's story is either drastically different or uniquely different in a small, nuanced way. But God doesn't spare the details.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why you're here. There's a reason why you're here right now today. There's a reason why this conversation happened. Do we know what it is? Maybe. No, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I want to give you the space to share something that is on your heart, encouragement, something you want to leave us with.
Whew. Yeah, man. I think I see a lot of one, thank you for this space. Um, thank you for just allowing this space where we can talk and you know we when we talk we have conversations for hours and so it's just who we are. But um I think one of the biggest things I want to encourage people with is actually it'll start off sounding not encouraging, but life is hard, right? Like life is difficult. There's plenty of challenges. There's a lot of unexpected texts or phone calls or illnesses or accidents or just a lot of unexpected things, right? And this earth can be gruesome sometimes and things just don't make sense. And um, I see a lot of people giving up because life is hard. And I see a lot of people giving up because they find themselves in a cycle and bad things keep happening to them by good people or even bad people. And each time something happens, people's hope starts to be empty. And I want people to see when that container that you may have hope, your hope may have been to the very, very top, right? And you feel like you're just dry, you've hit rock bottom, and that container of hope is empty. Just know that there is a full container always, every single day of God's grace. And it's a container that doesn't run empty. It's a container that, yes, sometimes we may put to the side, but there's always a container that we can pick back up and say, hey, I'm going to give myself grace. I'm going to receive that grace and I'm going to live in that grace. And the more that we can fill ourselves up with just dripping more grace into that's why I just love the name of our business is the more we can drip more grace into our life, the more space that we allow, the bigger the container gets for the unexpected things in life to happen, for for myself to have a very bad day, for myself to even, this sounds bad, but for myself to even say the wrong thing to my wife one night and not have patience, right? And or to do something wrong in the business and something, goes astray. But the more that you consistently drip more grace in your life and allow yourself a space to just do great things and to mess up, the more that you'll stay away from that place of just wanting to give up, because you'll live in a space where you know you have space to fail. And a lot of people don't like to talk about failing, but you have space to fail. You even have space to have a whole year that you just sucked, or a whole year that life just beat you up, but there's another year coming, right? And just to keep that hope, because His grace is sufficient, and just to continue to look back on your life and see the many times that you've gotten back up. And um, someone told me this one time that's really stuck to me, is that you've you've survived all your hardest days. And that was one of the biggest things that stuck to me, because if you're living today, you've survived your absolute hardest days, and that itself should be the grace that you need to keep going.
I'm gonna keep nodding my head for a few more minutes. Man, that's it.
Amen.
That's it. That was that man so
Indeed.
eloquently said. Beautiful. A beautiful summary image of what it means to lean into grace as you pursue greatness.
Mhm.
As we chase our why not me, our goal, our calling, our journey, whatever our greatness is in whatever area, you will be tired. You will get fatigued. You will hit a roadblock. You will hit a brick wall. You will walk through the storm or the fog. You will be turned around, confused, get lost. You will make the wrong turn. That doesn't mean that you can't keep chasing greatness.
Right.
That means you need to give yourself the grace to own that mistake. It's
Yep.
okay to have that mistake. Analyze that mistake and keep moving.
Yep.
Man,
Give yourself the space to be great, man. Give yourself space to be great. I think
and you do that
everybody
with
needs that
grace.
space.
You do that with grace. Man, Davonte, listen, this has been an incredible honor to have you on the pod. And my pleasure, man. I feel charged up. I'm ready to go. I cannot wait to continue to practice grace as I pursue greatness. And I'll be calling you about this. I'm excited. We're gonna have you on more episodes in the future. I just gotta get my mind wrapped around this. But thank you so much. Listen, gang, the challenge for this episode is to look in the mirror and
Mm,
ask yourself, where have you been too difficult on yourself for no reason?
mm,
Where have you been placing undue burden, undue pressure, undue stress on yourself for no reason? You are the only one putting this pressure on yourself in this moment. And once you find what that moment is, give yourself grace. Step back. Go get the container Davonte talked about and find a new way forward. Refreshed, with a more positive image of yourself, with a more encouraged image of yourself that is capable of greatness. Thank you all so much for your time, for tuning in. I am honored and thankful for all of you all and all of your support. Davonte, do you want to say anything else to the people prior to us signing off?
I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you for the space. Um, I also want to say that I'm proud of you for your why not journey. And I've told you this, man. I told you you started this podcast in the exact season that God was telling me to go full time with the business. And I told you every podcast that you dropped was literally exact. It was like God speaking to me. And every the week that you dropped the pod, it was like exact words that I needed to hear. So I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of the man that you are. I'm proud of the husband that you are and the father that you are. And it's very cool to see um, who God is continuing to grow you to be in this life, and that you are on the path of greatness and you've already done great things. So I just want you to know that I'm proud of you, know that I see you, um, know that I love you, and I appreciate all that you do for me and in the world.
Man, I got dust up in the house. We got to clean. It's dusty.
There's
Shoo.
always dust in there, you know?
Yeah, no. These are tears. These are tears. It's man. That means the world to me, Davonte. That really does, and you have no idea how much of an impact you've been in my life. So I'm glad that I can even pay it forward, even a fraction, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you, gang. Go be you. Go be great because you were meant to be great. And after all, it all starts with one question: why not me?
That's
Peace.